Well,
Yeah.
I want to take a minute and thank everyone for attending today, and really thank Madhurima for hosting here. This is a topic that so many people have brought up, and today we'll be focused on burnout and a lot of the things surrounding it. I'm not going to take up any more time because we all have are more anxious to hear Madhurima talk than me. So welcome everyone, and I'll turn it over to you, Madhurima. You have a screen, you have the screen share enabled too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna and let me know if you guys can see this. I genuinely want this to be a very interactive session. So please feel free and comment and chat, comment in the chats and just like, let's get the energy going because this is such an amazing topic and such an important topic that a lot of times we brush aside. So I mean, you can see the topic obviously, but it's habits to include in your routine to prevent burnout as a creative. Now, full disclosure, these are not habits that I just picked up off of Google and put it in here and be like, yeah, that's it, I'm done. This is me as a coach. I still stop. Like, that's not it. I have been a creator before and I have gone through a very bad burnout, an extremely bad burnout in my creative phase. And these habits were the habits that kind of helped me get out of it and go back to a sense of normalcy. I'll tell you a bit more about me. I'm Madhurima Sappatti, freedom soul coach. I am a writer and the host of the Soul's Conquest, which is a podcast. So I'm in there, right? Like anything that exists, I have to get my fingers dirty. I have to go in there and I have to be like, this is something that I am going to try. Shiny object syndrome was made for me, if you will, because I have to try everything. And then I kind of tend to leave it midway through, which is not what we are going to talk about, but this is about the multi-passionate creatives who love to create, right? Who are here to show themselves, share their perspective with the world, because I feel like, especially in today's day and age, it is so crucial to share your perspective, share your thoughts, and artists and creatives and writers, basically the creative community, anyone who comes into that has a very strong weapon in their hand, if you will, to share what they want to share, to get things out of their heart and put it for the world to see. Who all resonates with that? Please drop a one in the comments so that I know that you guys resonate with this and it's not just me blabbering off and hoping that, oh yeah, this makes sense for me and that means it makes sense for everyone else. So hoo, all right, we have a few ones in there. I am loving it. So let's start with burnout. What does it mean? Now, I have said this before and I'll say it 101 times or even thousands of times. I'll make a count and I'll let you guys know how many times I'll say it. But it's very crucial to understand what burnout actually is, right? You can't just jump in there to try to prevent the habits or prevent the things that are causing you the burnout without understanding what burnout is, because that goes against everything, right? It's almost like you are having a fever and you take a paracetamol, your fever being the burnout, and you're like taking a paracetamol and you're like, yes, I'm done. But in reality, there might be a much deeper cause, a much deeper thing that is kind of leading to that burnout in the very first place. So it gets very crucial to understand what burnout is. Burnout basically means something that you face when you are faced with stress, depending on the intensity of it, right? It can be short-term stress, it can be long-term stress, it can be different kinds of stress over a long period of time. That is when you burn out. And that basically means a sense of having a sense of exhaustion, not feeling up to creativity, not feeling like you can do something. There's a lot of negative emotions going on in there. There's a lot of I hate you, I hate myself. There's a lot of depersonalization. So the things that you tend to create, you kind of detach from it altogether. You're just like, I don't like it. That is not me, right? And when that happens over a long period of time, then you tend to detach from the art of creating itself, right? And it sucks majorly. And I'll just let you in on a very short story. So I was working in a advertising agency back in 2019, and I worked there for 3 months, right? I'm giving you spoiler alerts. I have worked there only for 3 months. The thing is, I was working there as a content creator and I was a dope ass content creator, right? Like I was genuinely at the peak of my creation and I was like, I'm getting paid to write. what is this dream? Like, I didn't know this could happen, right? Like, I had worked before in writing articles and stuff like that, but I was doing social media. I was creating content for social media. I was creating articles and blogs and stuff like this. And I was like, this is exciting as hell. Like, oh my God, I love it. And then I realized that the company I was working in was a very toxic and negative environment. It had a very toxic environment. It had a toxic boss. There were basically zero boundaries because I was working into the night, and then I would get up and work from the morning, early in the morning, because we had clients all over the world. And, it was like, whew, it was crazy, you guys. It was crazy as all hell. And I was passionate about this, and I realized this quite recently, that I have a tendency to be like, I have to make the person I'm working for proud, right? Like, I have to show up in that. I have to be like this image of good girl, that, oh yeah, I am doing everything right, I am the person you need to reach out to. So that meant zero boundaries. That meant not reaching out to the person who I was working for to ask for help. And when I did, I was dismissed way too quickly. So I was like, I don't know what to do, man. And that eventually led me to, like, every time I would get a notification on my phone or on my laptop notifying me that I have to get back to writing, I would cringe away from it. I'd be like, ugh, writing, whoever created this abomination, right? This is like, I don't want to do this. And I was having like constant panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and I was in the depths of hell, if you will, in that sense. And I was just like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. It's okay to have a writer's block. I have had a writer's block a lot of times when I was writing fan fictions, I was writing novels. It's normal to have writer's block, but what is this? What is this feeling of negativity that comes when I'm trying to create something, right? And it took me literally 2 months um, after starting, after having done 1 month of working over there, that I just hated writing. I hated writing, and I couldn't write anymore, not even to express myself. And the thing is, I used to express myself by creating content, by talking about this moon and the stars and the sunshine kind of wafting through the leaves and blah blah blah, all that stuff. That was how I used to express myself, and I hadn't expressed myself for a pretty long time. And that was adding so much negativity inside of me. And eventually, for the sake of my mental health and my sanity, I was like, I can't do this anymore, I have to quit. Even though at that point of time, that was the only income source in my family at that point of time. And I was just like, I genuinely can't do this, right? And I'm not saying this that everyone can quit, but if it comes to a point where you have to quit, you have to quit. You have to take that decision for yourself and prioritize yourself. And the thing about burnout is, the effects of the burnout last for a pretty long time. Research says that it lasts for almost 2 to 3 years after you have overcome burnout. So that is messed up, you guys. Not It took me literally 2 years to actually get back to writing for myself all over again. That is scary as hell, right? Like, and I'm speaking from writing's perspective, blah, 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 writing's perspective. But you guys put in whatever you create, and not having the ability to create it anymore, not having the ability to show up and share your perspective, express yourself fully. That is what happens in a burnout, and we don't want to get there. That is the very thing that we want to avoid right now as creatives who are trying to change the world. Make small changes, but make impactful changes. That is what we are here to do, right? So let's not get into the burnout zone. That is not the thing that we want to avoid, and that is what this presentation is going to be all about. Now, before I go into preventing the habits, there is just this wonderful, beautiful quote that Martha Graham said, that a dancer dies twice, once when they stop dancing, and this first death is far more painful. This is basically what I experienced during that moment of not being able to write for myself, not being able to create for myself, whatever it was. It was death in it all its entirety, right? Like, when you die, the final death, when you die, there's nothing, kind of like, you are not attached to anyone at that point of time. You're just like, ooh, I'm a spirit, I'm a roam around the world, free ticket, all that stuff. But when you die in the terms of not being able to create the thing that your heart is calling you out to create, you are still living, and you have to deal with the consequences of that death. And that is the death that we kind of want to avoid. So yeah, oh yeah, Phil, this is a great quote. That is what started off my entire thing about wanting to help creatives overcome burnout. So all right, now let's skip into what's in your cocktail. I'll briefly touch upon this. I need you guys to understand that burnout is very specific for everyone, right? And burnout, as I was mentioning earlier, the definition of burnout is stress over a long period of time. That is when you end up burning out. And stress affects everyone differently. What might be something that stresses me out might not stress you out. What might be something that stresses, let's say, Arkai out, won't stress me out, right? It's a crazy world because we all have different sensitivities. We all have different reactions to particular events. Some stress, and full disclaimer, stress is not bad. Stress is actually good for you, but in limits. When you go over that stress point, when that stress has been happening over and over and over again, that is when things start to get bad. That is when you start to burn out, and it can lead to some pretty bad things: insomnia, restlessness, depression, anxiety, not wanting to create, hating yourself, hating the world. And to be honest, a lot of times when I was in that zone, I haven't said this to anyone before, but when I was in that zone, I almost wanted to die because I was like, I am not able to do anything that I want to do. What is happening, right? Like, I had no clue. It literally took me 2 years to understand that I was actually going through a burnout then, because burnout was not a hype word as it is now, right? I had no awareness around it. I had no way to Google, ooh, what can I do to get out of my burnout? It's like, what can I do to get out of my anxiety? And there were hundreds of solutions, but they weren't made for me, right? And so again, going back to the cocktail aspect of it, everyone faces burnout differently. The different triggers that causes burnout is very specific to each and every individual. Think of it as a cocktail, if you will, a cocktail that is made very specifically for you, and it has all your worst stresses at different quantities. And you keep drinking it, you keep drinking it, and the first time, you're just like, oh, this is nice. The second time, you start to kind of get tipsy, which is when you start to face writer's blocks, when you start to face any kind of a creative block. And when you get drunk on your cocktail, that is when you end up burning out. And that is the place that we want to avoid. So without further ado, let's get into preventing burnouts. Full warning, these habits are not the final solution. This is just a way. This is like that paracetamol that you take to kind of prevent the fever from kind of rising up. These habits are not the final solution, but they are a great solution, because you need to figure out what specific solutions help you with that specific stress in your trigger glass or in your cocktail glass, right? So you need to figure out what are the habits that help you prevent those triggers from affecting you. But these habits are a great way to kind of kickstart your journey into preventing burnout. The very first thing, this is extremely crucial: communicate with yourself, right? Because let me tell you why this point is number one, and this point is so important. It's because awareness is really, really crucial when it comes to burnout. You guys, I know as a coach who works with burnout specifically, I shouldn't be saying this, but I want to let you guys in on a secret. Burnout is not 100% preventable, because what could be added in your, if you clear out your cocktail glass filled with stresses right now, if you work on those stresses, you clear out your cocktail glass, there's no saying that in the future you won't have new triggers added to your cocktail glass. There might be new drinks added into it, new ingredients added to it. So there is an opportunity, or there is a chance for you to burn out in the future as well. However, awareness is really key. When you're aware of the things that you tend to go to, your body tends to go through when you are burning out, you can catch yourself pretty early in the cycle and prevent yourself from going through the entire loop. Drop a 2 in the comments if you feel like this actually makes sense to you. Do you think that awareness is important, not only in life, but yeah. Woohoo, amazing. So the very first thing you need to do is start by communicating with yourself, right? And how do you communicate? You take yourself out on a first date, right? How would you react when you take yourself out on the first date? You won't go into the deep and dirty right off the bat. You will start by having a nice conversation. Hey, hi, How are you? What do you like? What are your hobbies? Let's start communicating with ourselves by genuinely communicating with ourselves and not like just rushing into things. It needs to be a slow process, because for so long we have basically avoided communicating with ourselves. We have brushed that part of ourselves aside, but this is an opportunity to communicate with yourself and talk to yourself, because at the base of it all, communication is key to any relationship, especially the one that you have with yourself. So start by having a conversation. Start by talking to yourself and asking yourself, what's going on? What are you feeling? This is a great way to kind of increase that self awareness in all its entirety. So, this is a very first habit that you need to start. Second thing, create better boundaries. Ooh, this is this is a topic that can be a workshop in and of itself, to be honest, you guys, because it we need to understand, when we speak about boundaries, a lot of people ask me this: Madhurima, you are a freedom soul coach, you speak about freedom, why the hell are you talking about limiting yourself? Why the hell are you talking about boundaries? But the thing is, when you create better boundaries, you have the ability to experience everything that you do at its highest potential. Yeah, let's say you try to write. I'll start with my own example, right? Like, let's say you try to write 5 to 6 fan fictions at the same point of time. And I love writing fan fictions, you guys, like, this is my guilty pleasure. Please don't come at me in the comments, but I love to write fan fictions for myself. But imagine if I try to write 5 to 6 fan fictions at the same time. That will lead to me not being able to write any of them the way that I want them to be, right? It won't come out the way that I've been envisioning them to come out, right? And imagine in that, you're also adding, oh, I have to feed my dog, I have to go out and spend time with my family, I have to do all of these things at the same exact time. You won't be doing any of them properly. Creating better boundaries in your work life and in your personal life, right, whatever that includes, helps you to deal, helps you to have like a high level of efficiency, a high level of focus at everything that you do, right? And this, creating better boundaries, kind of adds up to the first point that we spoke about, which was communicating with yourself. If you communicate with yourself, you can create better boundaries. Otherwise, you'll just be creating boundaries left and right, and it won't make any sense whatsoever. Yes, I am going to play with my dog for an hour. Why? What is it doing for you? Right? You need to have a better communication stream to understand why you're creating these boundaries in the very first place. The next point, this is really amazing, is start with intention. Whatever you do, no matter what you do, you need to start with intention. By having a sense of, why am I starting this? Why am I doing the thing that I want to do? Why am I creating this boundary in the first place? Or let's say, if you are writing, again, a fan fiction, if you're writing a fan fiction, why am I writing this fan fiction? What is the point that I want to get across? Is it for pleasure? Is it for just having just having the opportunity to write? Why am I doing this? Understanding the intention of whatever you do. Thank you, Crystal. Understanding the intention behind whatever you do genuinely goes a really long way in setting better boundaries and, again, communicating with yourself. All these points tie up to each other, right? So you need to be able to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Now, I received this thing in the chat: when I trample on my own boundaries or manage to hold one, I sing the boundary loudly to myself to a certain well-known kids TV tune. I'm gonna have you sing that at the end of our presentation, so be ready, Ellen. Oof. All right, this is a really crucial thing. Take mini breaks. Now, I know a lot of us kind of cringe away from breaks or take way too many breaks, right? But the intention behind this is, when you take mini breaks, you have boundaries, you have intentions. What this will help you do is basically reset your mind, right? Now, what I mean by this is, a lot of times we tend to have this: let's work for 6 days. The seventh day is the day I'll take a break. We are not God, you guys. Like, I know we want to be when we are creating. We feel like, yes, I'm a God. I'm creating this amazing universe and all these characters, and I am making them flow. Well, we are not gods and we don't have to earn our break. Another huge thing that a lot of people tend to have, the notion of I have to earn my break, I have to have done enough to be able to take a break. If I haven't done this much quantity of work, I won't take a break no matter what is going on in my mind, right? But by taking mini breaks, we have, you heard this thing, drop a 3 in the comments if you have heard this. There is this concept that after 20 minutes of intense concentrated focus, you tend to lose focus as time goes on. Have you heard this before? All right, there you go, guys. We tend to lose focus after concentrating for a particular period of time. Our brain is in a very high focus, high intensity space. But if you continue to be in that space, your brain is like, well, I don't want to do this anymore, right? You start to get distracted. You start to kind of like go to your Instagram, check who's DMing who, what's the gossip, what's happening in the celebrity kind of area. You tend to do all of this stuff rather than work. If you have experienced this, you are in the same boat as me, because I used to experience this a lot of times, right? I'd be like, I have done enough. Now I'm going to go check on my Instagram and then not come back to my work for like an hour or two. We have all been there. So my suggestion is take mini breaks, allow your brain to reset, right? Think of it as that button, that red button, and just reset yourself, right? And how you do this is basically by having really good boundaries and figuring out how much time you can focus for, right? I can focus for, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes, right? That is my zone of focus, where if I sit down and if I plan to work on something, 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be highly focused on the thing that I want to do. And then I'll start to get distracted. So make it into sprints. After 40 minutes of work, I'll take a 10-minute break. And during that break, I will do anything other than work, right? I'll watch my favorite anime. I will see cooking shows. I will scroll on Instagram. I'll do this, I'll do that. Whatever makes you happy. Don't do it as an, oh, I'm taking a 10-minute break, now I have to do something that I can post on my Instagram story, and it's going to be something that is going to be so hypey and people are going to be like, ah. No. Do something for yourself. That is the intention of this 10-minute break. In that 10 minutes, do something that's like allows you to relax, allows you to reset, and then you go back to whatever you're doing. And this is where boundary comes into play, right? If after the 10 minutes you're like, you know what, let's watch one more episode, let's read one more chapter, what's gonna happen, who's gonna know? Well, you are going to know, your inner self is going to know, and then it will start to feel like, oh, we are not communicating properly, because I thought we were going to take a break, but we are not taking a break. So does this mean that whatever we have been communicating about is a lie? Think about it in a relationship. If you lie once, if you lie twice, after the third time, you start to kind of like not trust your other half, right? You're just going to be like, they're going to lie anyways. What's the point of communicating fully, right? So it gets really important to hold those boundaries and take mini breaks and just enjoy life for what it is, and create from a place where you are getting inspired. During those 10 minutes, I tend to do things that inspire me, right? I tend to watch people whose talks inspire me, and I'm like, oh, let's go, let's go, let's go. I hype myself up in those 10 minutes to kind of, when I go back to work, I'm in a very hyped up state. I'm in that extremely focused zone, right? So take mini breaks and enjoy them for what they are. Whew, reflection. This is amazing. Reflection is really important because it allows you to look back at your past and figure out what are the things that have worked for you and what are the things that haven't worked for you. Allowing to self reflect at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, it helps you basically look back and be like, ooh, I could actually focus for 1.5 hour that one time after taking that 10-minute break. So let's do one thing. Maybe I can shift around the sprints that I do. Or, oh, if I sit down to read that one comic book, I know that I won't stop. So maybe I should stop reading that comic book in my 10-minute break time, right? Self reflect, look at the things that work for you and the things that don't work for you. And the things that don't work for you, cut it out. Do it at a later point of time, not in your work zone kind of a thing. Do it at a later point of time, not like, I'm not going to read comic books anymore, this is not me, this is not going to help me in my creativity. No, read it at a later point of time. But during that work zone that you are in, you can focus on doing something else, and the things that have worked for you, you can fine tune it and sharpen it so that it works, it continues to work for you in the future. So self reflection is very, very important. Now, this is the final point, this is the final habit, you guys, before we jump into hot seat coaching, and this is the most important point of it all. Love every aspect of who you are. Now, I know when we get into creativity as freelancers, as creatives, we tend to have this concept that I have left a 9 to 5 job, or I have left the thing that makes me more money to do the thing that I genuinely love. And now, because I love doing this is all that I am. This is going to have my entire focus. This is going to be my entire being. It's like wearing different hats, right? So once you wear that creativity hat, you don't tend to take it off, because you're like, I want to spend time watching a movie. I want to spend time with my family. But the creativity hat is like, no, you have to work. How can you say that? You have to create. This is so amazing. You love doing this, right? We love the thing that we want to do. So why do you not want to do this? Let's go back to this. You're stupid, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of insults that happen when you'll allow this one aspect of who you are take the entirety, take the power to run your entire being, right? It could be like, you love to dance, but every time you are like, let's go have a dance, right? Like, we used to do dance routines, we used to listen to music loudly, we used to sing in the middle of the night and scare our neighbors. Why are we not doing that anymore? Well, our creative mind is like, because it doesn't make sense. How is it helping in our creativity? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, that makes sense, let me not do this anymore. Allow yourself to be more than who you are. Because if you are just going to be a creative throughout your day, I know this is going to rub a few people off, but if you're just going to be a creative throughout your day, you put a lot of stress and pressure on yourself. You put way too much stress, because you are always thinking as a creative, you're always in that zone of like, this is great, this is great, I have to create, this can be useful, this can be this, blah, blah, blah. You're adding a lot of things on the top of your mind. You're not being present for different aspects of you, who you are, right? Like, even people who love to travel come back at one point of time and spend time with their family, because they need to kind of get out of that travel zone of that wandering and settle down at some place for a little while. So I genuinely want you guys to know that it's amazing that you're a creative. I love you because you are a creative, but don't let it be your entire self. Don't let your creative person kind of be the thing that's running your body. Let them be the think of it like this, we have a main artist who's singing in a concert, and we have a lot of people playing drums, dancing behind. You are the individual who is singing. Your creative self, your self that wants to sing in the middle of the night, yourself that wants to dance, yourself that loves to paint, all these things, all these other activities are just the background singers that are supporting you in driving your life. Don't let one thing take charge, because then it's going to add so much pressure. You guys have been there, and that's why I can say it adds way too much pressure on yourself. If you're a and it doesn't just kind of constrained to creatives. It happens with entrepreneurs, it happens with coaches, it happens with literally everyone around the world. The minute we start to do something that we truly love, that becomes our entire self, and we don't allow our other selves to kind of show up and be in their entirety. We don't let them kind of show up in the presence of it all. We're just like, you're sidetracked for the moment till we finish. So yeah. Ooh, Kristen, I hear you, I've been there too. So yeah, I feel like that brings us to the end of our session. I hope this helped. Thank you so much. I forgot to change this part. It's not start podcasting, start creating. You guys, I've done this presentation a few different times. So I apologize for that. But thank you for staying till the end. I hope that this resonated with you. Let me know if it did in the comments, so that like, I have like a little bit of an ego thingy happening where I'm like, let me know, let me soak up in all of that happiness. So like, yeah, this helped people. So yeah. And then Kristen, I think we can then get into hot seat coaching. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Madhurima. It was the heartiest 30 minutes that I think I've ever experienced. You really fit a lot in there. And I was checking, I was like, oh my gosh, she's got she's got it all done, which I was really impressed by. But yeah, I think it was really enlightening. And there was a couple of comments in the chat box that I wanted to bring some attention to. And one of the things that Helen's mentioned was, she said, I love the idea of checking in if you're communicating with yourself. Helen, did you want to chat a little bit more about that?
Plus, Helen, you still have to sing for us. So
Yeah, I know. So
forgotten.
unmute at one
Yeah.
point or another.
Well, while Helen's maybe trying to unmute, I have a quick, not to jump to the hot seat stuff too fast, maybe, but I have a question about intention. And you mentioned a few times when you talk about intention, you mentioned why. Is intention about the why? Is that really what we mean by that? Or where do you come at from that? You know, if I'm sitting down, and I actually, full disclosure, I'm more of a technical person than I am a creative person, but the technical side is highly creative. A lot of people don't sort of recognize that. So if you sit down and write a piece of code, or if you sit down to plug something in and make something work, it's a highly creative process. It just really is. And so, because usually starting with something blank, but the intention is kind of an interesting thing. I was wondering about that. Can you talk more about intention, and can you maybe coach a little on how do you dig in on that? Because sometimes, you know, if you have not to expand too much, but like sometimes you have a client that's like, hey, I want you to do this. And well, that's kind of your intention, right? In some ways, I guess. So, you know, that's one thing, but then this whole setting the intention is a different thing. So please, can you talk about that for a second or two?
For sure, for sure. So when I think about setting intention, usually when I go about setting intention for anything that I do, I have this habit of coaching myself through it. Right. And what I mean by setting intention is, why am I planning? Why am I trying to do this one thing? What is it bringing into the world? Why is this important for me? Why is this something that needs to be urgently taken care of? Why is this the top of my priority list? By asking myself questions like these by asking myself questions like these, it genuinely helps me kind of fine tune as to what the end result of it all is. Right. When we have an end goal in sight, it becomes much more easier to kind of take the steps to reach there. It's kind of, think of it like this. If you have no idea what's happening, you're starting something, right? Let's say you are starting a new project, but you have no idea why you're starting that project. It's kind of like shooting in the dark and hoping something lands with the client, or hoping something lands with yourself, your inner self, but you have no idea why you're doing it. When you have a clear intention, when you coach yourself through that intention, and some people might call it strategy as well, when you coach yourself through that intention, it genuinely helps you understand, where am I shooting at? Why am I shooting at that target? And once you have a clear concept of where the target is, you're gonna shoot there, and it might miss a couple of times, but slowly and slowly you will kind of hit bull's eye, and then you'll keep hitting bull's eye. Right. So that is the concept of setting the intention. When you set an intention for whatever you're doing, it can be creative, it can be a personal journey, it will genuinely help you kind of have a clearer idea. And I feel like a lot of it kind of comes along with mindset training as well. Right. A lot of the coaching that I do tends to be in the mindset arena of it all. Like, and that's where I kind of go into, why is this something that I need to focus on right now? Because it can be like, oh, for example, let's say I want to lose weight. I want to get to 70 kgs by the end of this year. Why is this important for me? Because it will keep me healthy, because I'll look sexy when I wear new clothes, because it will help me kind of have a better kind of relationship with my body. Well, great, these are all superficial answers, but what else? Why is this important to you? Right. And when you dive deeper enough, when you kind of set a clear intention, you dive deeper enough, and it comes to the point where it's like, because I'll have more confidence in being who I am, because I can show up in my entirety without having to worry about if I'm shying away from things because I'm kind of uncomfortable. Right. Like, I love to dance, but I would never show myself dancing on social media because I'm very conscious about my body. Right. I'm just like, what will people say? And I know as a coach, you are supposed to be this all enlightened thing and all confident being, but you're not. We are human beings. And at the end of the day, we have some things that we are kind of scared of. We have some things. And again, my intention to lose weight is not connected to me showing off my dance moves on social media, but it's just that I have more confidence in who I am. When I wake up and I look at the mirror, there's a more deeper connection with my being, because I have worked with myself from the place where I was fat to the place where I am now in a fitter body, right? When you kind of take that relationship together with your inner self, you build that relationship, but you also have like this deeper connection, right? So I feel like that is what I'm trying to go at. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Super interesting. So to keep digging in on the why,
Mhm.
and don't be satisfied with that sort of superficial answer,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
dance around. I want to show my dance moves on social media. Well, not really. What I'm trying to get at is a deeper relationship with myself, or more confidence in myself, or whatever that is. So
Yeah.
with its physical appearance, or I don't have very good dance moves. I should probably learn dance moves. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
That's what the next workshop is going to be about. Phil teaching how to dance.
What's that, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
you
that's the
spoke way
next
too fast.
workshop. No, that's the next workshop.
How to
Phil
do
teaches
dance,
how to dance.
TikTok dance moves?
Yep.
I'm telling you, that would be a good one.
That would be
I'm
a
pre-
good
That would be
I'm
kind of awesome.
pre-booking right now.
Everyone who comes has to come with this, well, a really good one and one you're not sure about, though. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This one I know is gonna be great. Okay. And this one, I don't know.
I'm clearing my entire schedule. I'm just booking whatever time it takes.
That's it. I don't care. I'm open. I'm open for that job.
Same.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Set the intention, right?
Wow. I love the fact that Phil, you're taking this seriously. I mean, it makes me very happy. You're setting the intention. Let's get it out. Let's make it happen. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Alrighty. Yeah. So we still have some time, I believe. Kristen, let me know if we still have some time, and we can do some coaching. So if you are going through burnout, if you want to have a conversation around it, this is genuinely a good time. Like, I know we won't like figure out everything, but we will take the first step towards kind of understanding more about your burnout and taking a deeper dive into it. And then you will have an opportunity to use the habits that we mentioned in the presentation, in the workshop, and actually make sure what's happening. And before we get into that, I just want to let you all know, you don't have to do them all at the same time. Start small, start with one habit at a time, right? Because I tend to have this habit, and you can drop a 4 or a 5 in the comments, that you start way too many things and then I stop, right? Like, I tend to do that. I'm like, yes, my intention is this, and then I'll stop midway through because I'm bored and I'm not interested anymore and I'm not feeling challenged. So drop a 4 so that I don't feel alone, but you don't have to. But yeah, I mean, if you get it right, do it one step at a time. You can start simply. I'll let you guys in on a secret. Start by communicating with yourself, and everything else will fall into line. Yeah. So start with that. And with that, I think we can head into hot seat coaching if anyone's interested.
Yeah, we set aside 45 minutes for this one, but if people are willing to stay over, feel free. If you've got to sign off, I know Helen had to sign off because she had another appointment that she was running off to. But is there anyone, speak up in the comments or speak up now if you would like to share a little bit, get hot seat coached, to get hot seat coached.
Yeah. Speak now or forever hold your peace, Yeah.
Well, Kriza, what are you thinking? Would you like to be hot seat coached?
Oh,
Kriza?
sorry, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
On the spot.
I actually really
calling
loved the point that you talked about with loving other aspects of yourself, because that really spoke to me. Whereas I've been doing art as my career for a while now. Art has always been something I loved as a kid, and I made a career out of it, but I feel like it started to become my life, and like that's all I am, and I don't want that to be who I am. Like, yes, I am a very creative person and I love art and I love what I do with my work, but I don't want it to solely be who I am. So it's great that you mentioned that, because I am exploring the other parts of myself and other things that I love. Like, I do love roller skating. I love roller skate dancing, and and doing different things and trying to explore those other parts of myself that I didn't get to explore because I was focusing so much on art.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. And Phil, we have one more addition to the dancing thing. Yeah. We have to make this a reality now.
It's not, I mean, did you just say roller skate dancing?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'm not good. I'm still learning. Like I follow the time. So
If I put roller skates on, I would fall down immediately. Like, whoop,
I've never worn a roller skate in my life. So like, ah.
the first thing before putting roller skates on, I would put on a helmet and padding, like pillow down my butt, something like that. It's like just like because I'm gonna fall a lot.
Yeah.
Not gonna be pretty. That's amazing. Okay, so that's yeah, you're right. We have in addition to the TikTok dancing, that roller skate dancing like that.
Yeah. But Krisa, I love that you're doing this for yourself. You had that awareness that you don't want your art to be your entire life, right? Like I feel like just saying it kind of makes us cringe away from it. Like, how could you say that, right? Like, ugh, how could writing not be your entire self? How could creating art not be your entire self? But it is not that, right? It's if we are just drawing art, then we are not experiencing life and we have no more inspiration to create new art. So I love that you had that sense of awareness that you need to explore the different aspects of who you are and give them the equal attention, and or at least some attention, and start off by giving it some attention and then building up on it. So I love that for you, Krisa. And
thank you.
yeah, and I definitely love to check out your art sometime. So please feel free to drop me, or you could drop it in the chat or something like that, where we could check out your art, and I'd love to support you.
Sorry, I just have myself muted for now because there's construction outside, but I will definitely do that and send that over. And I'd love to hear what all of you guys do outside of what you do for work, and then what are your hobbies as well.
That would be nice. I feel like I've spoken a lot about me, so you guys can go first.
Well, I'm so along with digital marketing, before my past life, I was very big on politics. So that was something that I really leaned into from like 16. And then before that, and still throughout, a lot of theater, a lot of singing. I'm a vocalist, so it's been interesting to get back into it. And to exactly to your point, Madhurima, like something that I experienced this at 16, which is weird. Maybe that was my first taste of burnout, but I had leaned into theater for so long. And when I discovered it first when I was 12. So from 12 until 16, I was just doing that's how I identified myself, right? And then that year, I don't know, it was silly. I just wasn't cast in the roles that I wanted. And I was like, well, if I don't have this, then who am I, right? And it was a total shock because it's exactly to your point, when you make your art your life, it becomes not only the thing that brings you relief and fulfillment and joy, but then it becomes the bane of your existence. And that involves the stresses and the disappointments and the failures that come with it. And it's tough because, I mean, I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks of this, where they say, like, when you create, you give a little part of yourself to this. That's the only way to create well, to create beautifully, right?
Yeah.
So how do you limit how much of yourself you give to the things that you create while still holding on to something of yourself?
Oh, I love that. You guys, do you mind if I jump into that really quickly? Kristen, are you okay with it? Amazing. So first of all, I love that you did theater, because we, both me and Arkai, love. Okay, so we have just watched Hamilton, but that is a huge thing, and we are super excited about it. But I love that you love theater, and I love you had that moment of, oh shit, what am I if I'm not this, right? Like that quarter life crisis and the midlife crisis and all that we speak about. And the thing you said about the fact that we give a bit of ourselves into everything that we create. There is this beautiful song by Halsey. I think it is Gasoline or something. I don't remember. I'll put that in the comments. And she says that I write so that the demons inside of me can live on forever. I write so that I can continue to live on forever, even when I'm dead, right? And the thing is, we all tend to do that. And I want you to imagine, let's say, this cup, okay? Now you fill it up every single day with a lot of different things, or it is inspiration that you get from everyone around you, conscious or subconscious, or the universe, whatever you'd like to think of it. You fill this cup and then you add a little bit into something that you're creating, and then you add a little bit more, and then you add a little bit more, and then you add a little bit more. So obviously the cup is getting empty, but it is also receiving things, right? But if you stop receiving and if you just keep pouring, just keep pouring, just keep pouring, just keep pouring, eventually you will end up with an empty cup, right? And at that point of time, we start to grind our head thinking about what else we can put, what else can we put. But the thing is, this cup doesn't have to be closed. It can continue to receive inspiration. You can continue to build on yourself, right? It's not like our growth spurt that ends at the age of 17 and that's all we will grow up to, something which is a very sensitive topic to me because I'm still a short lady. But it's something that you can continue learning. You can continue adding to who you are as a person. You never have a complete picture of who you are. But if you stop learning, if you stop receiving things, if this is all that you have, eventually after giving and giving and giving, even if you're given tiny pieces or even if you're given big gulps, right? We tend to do that. We have this project that we're extremely passionate about and we put the entire cup. Well, what then? There's nothing left in here. And then you're just like, oh, because we are also people who live in a society, we start to think of what other people will think. Oh, was this a one-time wonder? Did I get lucky? Was that all there is to this? Was that all there was to my creativity? When in reality, it really isn't. It's because you haven't received. You haven't taken from other people. And we tend to have this really bad concept, especially as creatives, as people who love to give, who are extreme givers. They tend to kind of be switched off or turned off by receiving things, because it's like, how could I? What will the world think? Well, imagine if you are trying to give something to someone and the person in front of you is like, no, don't give this to us. We don't want it. Think of it as your art. You create something with your entire heart and you try to give it to someone and they're like, no, we don't want it. Ugh, this is not something that we are looking for. Please keep it to yourself. Like, but I put my heart into it. I don't want to keep it to myself. If I wanted to keep it to myself, I wouldn't have created it in the first place. I'm creating this so that I can share my perspective with you guys, so that I can share what's happening inside of this crazy big head and this crazier world outside of me, and trying to make sense of it through my art. But if you tell me to keep it within me, how's that going to affect you? You're going to be turned off by it. The other person's going to be turned off by it, right? They're like, no, keep it to yourself. I didn't want to do it to keep it to myself. So put yourself in the other person's shoes. When someone's trying to give you and you're like, no, don't do it. Don't give it to me. Keep it to yourself. I don't want the food that you made for me. I don't want to drink the cocktail that you made for me. I don't want to celebrate with you. You keep it to yourself. You're going to be like, that is not what the intention of it all was. I wanted you to be a part of this process. So genuinely get into understanding what you can add, how you can receive things, what looks like receiving things for you, what looks like you can add to your life, so that when you give, your cup is still full. Or we like to call it, there is this term in coaching that I love to talk about, which is give from the overflow, right? So if you pour everything into this cup and you keep pouring, whatever falls out of this cup is what I'll be creating. My cup is still full, right? And you do this by focusing on the other aspects of yourself and not just the one aspect of who you are. For me, it could be reading fan fiction, reading comic books, listening to weird music, dancing in the middle of the night, playing with my dogs, whatever it is. This makes me happy. This adds to my cup. Whatever comes out of it, whatever comes from the overflow, is what I create for everyone around me. So yeah, this cup came in way too handy. I love it. I just wanted to drink coffee, but this ooh.
Chris is so funny. She's like, I need to know which fan fiction you are reading and writing.
Shiza, I will send you a link because it's not very safe for work. but I will send you those fan fictions. And yeah, actually, you know what? Just yesterday, I was telling this to Ark. I wrote a fan fiction on Moon Knight that came out on Disney Hotstar, and that crossed over 1K reads, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy. And I
And it's
am
not safe
currently,
for work.
yeah, it's not safe for work, you guys. But yeah, I'll send you a link, Reza. Shh. Yeah, I'll just keep it on the down low.
Sounds great.
Yeah. All righty.
Well, I want to say thanks, Madhurima, for doing this. This is incredible. And thank you all for attending and for being so open and sharing. And, that's really part of what the Teamwork community is all about. So thank you for doing that.